sit in on the hearing, but I told the foster parents that sometimes things are said that are adult content, and I might have to have them taken out of the room, but initially I'm going to allow them to sit in on the hearing.
All right, let me try something here because that you're really faint coming through the speaker. Try that again.
I'm going to let them sit in on the hearing.
You're just going to have to speak it up then because you're coming through very faintly for whatever reason.
Okay.
All right. Let's see here. I've got a couple other people on here that I did not inquire about on the Zoom. One is identifies as Maritza's iPhone. Would you identify yourself, please, ma'am?
Good morning. My name is Marixa Carvajal, and I am the transporter for the children.
Okay. And then I've got another one that's showing as Alexis M. Who is that?
Good morning, Judge. My name is Alexis Jones Miller. I am the therapist for the children as well as for the mother and father.
All right. Who is calling those individuals potentially as witnesses?
The department is, Your Honor.
All right. All righty. Are there anything that we need to discuss on a preliminary basis from anyone?
Not from the department.
Ms. Evans Battle? I don't know. Ms. Battle may have moseyed away from the computer.
No, Judge, it's just I'm on my phone. I was trying to get in on my computer and it didn't work. So
all right.
I don't have any. No, I had also subpoenaed those witnesses. So there's nothing preliminary that I have, Judge.
Okay. As I got from reviewing, excuse me, from reviewing the pleadings, my understanding it's on for a motion for change in permanency plan to concurrent plans of reunification, non-reunification, termination of parental rights, at least to some of the children, if not all, don't recall, and then also a periodic review hearing. As to the periodic review hearing, Ms. Obsidnik, I don't see in the file anywhere that there was a court report submitted. Was there one?
Your Honor, I believe the one from the previous court date we had filed and circulated, and I don't believe a new one was prepared.
Okay, because that was from November, so that would have been almost 3 months plus ago.
I think there should be one from January 27th.
Well, the last hearing that I had, the hearing date was November 18th. So I don't see in this file any other. I did get a court report, I believe, for that hearing date, but I don't see that I got one for today or the January 24th date.
Then one must not have
from the January 25th date.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right, let's see here. Mom, Dad, Ms. Stevenson, Mr. Stevenson. Is anybody planning on calling any of the children as witnesses?
As far as
I'm not.
No, I'm not asking you, Ms. Stevenson. Ms. Battle, are you planning on calling any of the children?
No, Judge.
Ms. Obsidnik?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Miller?
No, sir.
Okay, so I won't swear them. But Ms. I think it's Alexis Miller, Maritza, Ms. Stevenson, the mom, Mr. Stevenson, the father. All of you unmute your microphones and turn on your videos and raise your right hand. And also I've got an Andrea Wilson as well, apparently, that I didn't see before. But Ms. Wilson, are you also a witness on this case?
Yes, I am the therapist for just Andrea Stevenson.
All right, so raise your right hand as well. Alexis, I need you to turn on your video, please.
I'm having some problems with my video. If you will see, it's just like a black screen. So even when I turn it off, then it has the picture of an ocean. I'm just having problems with my screen. What's going on? Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, I've been trying to fix it all morning. So I've seen it.
All right. Well, raise your. I think I saw you there briefly, but anyway, raise your right hand and take an oath. So, do each of you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony and evidence you're about to give in the matter pending before this court to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Ms. Wilson, do you
Yes.
affirm?
Yes.
All right. Maritza, do you also affirm?
Yes, I do.
All right. Ms. Miller, Alexis Miller.
Yes, sir. I do.
All right. Mr. Stevenson, the father.
Yes.
Mr. Turnipseed.
Yes.
All right. And then the mom, who I can't seem to find on here. There you are. Okay. It keeps, the pictures keep moving. So sorry. All right. Ms. Stevenson, do you affirm as well?
Yes.
All right. You can all put your hands down. Ms. Obsitnik, your case, go ahead.
Thank you. The department would like to call Mr. Turnipseed to the stand.
Okay.
Judge, I have an Erie crystal that's in the waiting room. I don't know who that person is.
Who is it?
Erie crystal.
Crystal.
Kristen. Erie Kristen.
What's the first name? Aaron?
I think Carly could hear me. Is that a witness?
Yes, that is another therapist that the department subpoenaed.
Okay.
Judge,
Yeah, we let them in.
are the witnesses going to be sequestered? And I would ask that they be so.
Are you outvoking the rule, Ms. Battle?
I am.
Okay. All right. So Ari Christian, will you well, he's connecting. Will you turn on your not your microphone, but your video, please? There you go. Mr. Christian, raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony and evidence you're about to give in the matter before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right. So Mr. Christian, Ms. Wilson, Alexis, and Ms. Maritza, and everybody except for Mr. Turnipseed, I believe, if those are the only other witnesses. We're going to put you in a waiting room because Ms. Battle has invoked the role of sequestration, which means that she does not want you present while any of the other witnesses are testifying, so that you're testifying based on what your own personal knowledge is, that kind of thing. So we're going to put you into the waiting room, and so just hold tight. When we get up to you, we'll bring you back into this main Zoom, okay?
All right, so who am I putting in the waiting room?
All right, so Ms. Andrea Wilson needs to go in there. Then Alexis M. needs to go in there, and Alexis Miller, I believe. And then Mr. Christian. And then Maritza's iPhone. Ms. Obsitnik, you do not plan on calling either Ms. Henley Parks or Ms. Ishmael, I presume.
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. I think that's it. Ms. Battle, do you see anybody else on your screen that's potentially a witness in this case?
From what Miss Henley Parks may have to testify.
Are you going to call her?
I don't know that I will call her, but based on what I know about the testimony, some of the testimony that's going to be given, there may be rebuttal testimony from her by Miss.
Okay, out of an abundance of caution, Ms. Henley Parks, you're going to go into the waiting room as well. All right. Anything else?
Not for me, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Obsitnik, you may proceed.
Mr. Turnipseed, where are you currently employed?
The Division of Family and Children Services.
Are the Stevenson children a part of your caseload?
That's correct.
So let's talk a little bit about the children. We'll start with DeAndre. How is DeAndre doing?
Thus far, DeAndre is doing fine. He does have his ups and downs when it comes to, when he's frustrated and things of that nature. He has been with Miss Moyer for the longevity of the case. DeAndre did come into care before his siblings did. So DeAndre has spent more time with the foster parent and kind of has been, he started with supervised, moved towards unsupervised when him and mom were on the verge of being reunified in 2023, but there was an incident that occurred prior to that hearing in July of 23 that kind of set the case back between mom and DeAndre. And then later on that year, I was introduced to DeAndrea and Champion, who came into care late October.
Okay, now let's talk about DeAndrea. How is she doing?
DeAndrea and Champion were just moved last month. So they're going through some adjustment changes as far as the foster home and getting acclimated. There are some behaviors and things that need to be changed that both DeAndrea and the foster parent are aware of when it comes to DeAndrea and her behaviors. Champion is pretty much free-spirited, your typical child running around, always happy, always wants to play, communicate, things of that nature.
Okay. Have the parents been visiting with the children?
Mom has visits on Thursdays, and dad comes down once a month to meet with the kids due to being out of state. Dad has come down since, he's been here in December, January, and I haven't spoken with him about the plans for this month, but he does come down once a month to meet with the children.
And how have the visits with the mother been going?
So far the visits have been going fine. I haven't really gotten too many complaints from the children. I know we have had to work on the respect issues when it comes to the kids and mom. They do have some disagreements in terms of them speaking freely about the situation with their mother. So aside from that, the kids don't have an issue visiting with mom.
Okay. Now let's talk about Mr. Stevenson, the father. How is it? Did the department set up a case plan for him?
Yes.
And how has he been doing with that case plan?
Dad has completed everything on his case plan outside of the family therapy. So they're still working on the family therapy sessions. I'm trying to see who can be involved with the family therapy in person when Dad comes down to visit.
Okay. And how about the mother? Did the department establish a case plan for the mother?
Yes, there is a case plan for Miss Stevenson.
And how is she doing on that case plan?
Mom is progressing with her case plan. She is making progress on her case plan. The department has concerns when it comes towards her anger and outbursts towards the department. We feel like mom did complete her parenting class and she is working on her individual therapy, but we are recommending more anger management due to the outbursts that we have had when it comes to dealing with Ms. Stevenson and Ms. Stevenson feeling as though the department is mistreating her and her case. The issue is we've received multiple text messages, harassment, and that concern. If we don't answer the phone, Ms. Stevenson will call multiple times. Like if Ms. Stevenson is aggravated, it's a mixture of calls and inappropriate text messages. Different threats along those lines when it comes to the department.
Okay, and is the department asking to change the case plan
Yes.
as to the mother and the father, or just one?
We are requesting to change the case plan as to the mother. Ms. Stevenson was made aware that the department was going to move towards a permanency change of concurrent reunification adoption.
Okay, and why are we seeking to change the case plan?
We are seeking those changes due to the issues that we have with mom's mental health. Her addressing the concerns with her bipolar that contributes to the anger and outbursts. Also due to the length of time that the children have been in care.
Okay. I think that's all I have for this witness, Your Honor. That's all I have for this witness, Your Honor.
I was muted. I'm sorry. Ms. Evans-Battle?
The microphone's having difficulty picking it.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Judge.
All right. Listen, just everybody, for purposes of when you're testifying or asking questions, you need to speak up. For whatever reason, the microphone in here is not, the speaker on this computer is not the greatest, and the microphone is having a hard time picking up some of your voices. So make an effort, please, to be as loud as possible. All right, Ms. Battle, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Turnipseed, you've indicated previously that DeAndre was doing fine, and is he visiting with the mother?
Okay, your voice kind of cracked a little bit there, like it was kind of going in and out. You asked him about DeAndre, and you said visits with mom.
Yes. How are the visits with mom?
The visits with mom are fine. Both of the older children have made their preferences in terms of who they would rather live with, but they're willing to visit with mom. They don't have an issue visiting with mom.
Okay. And can you tell me what behaviors you've indicated that the foster family is addressing with Deandra?
It's kind of been like an ongoing thing with DeAndrea. Accountability, behaviors in school, respectable in the home, as far as addressing people, as far as being in the home, like not stealing or lying, things of that nature.
And are those the same behaviors that Deandra had before when she initially was brought into care?
Those behaviors Ms. Stevenson did express prior to the kids coming into care, and it did carry over to the children being in care.
Okay. And you indicated that the children have provided a preference about who they want to live with. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, the kids have continued to state the preference of who they prefer to live with in terms of reunification.
And before this case came about, do you know what contact Mr. Stevenson had with the children?
department wasn't able to locate Mr. Stevenson when DeAndre Jr. first came into care. Mr. Stevenson was introduced and brought into the case when the two other children came into care in October of 23.
Okay. So before then, is it fair to say that he had not had contact with children?
Correct.
And since you indicated that he came to visit the children in December and January, correct?
Correct.
And before then, when did he come to see the children?
I want to say Dad came down one other time prior to that, before we came into court, and Dad said he could make himself available to come down monthly.
Oh, no, I've been down there a total of 5 times.
Mr. Stevenson, this is not the time for you to be volunteering any information, okay? Go ahead, Mr. Turnipseed.
And your testimony is based on your knowledge of the visitation being set up? Are you the person that set up the visitations?
I did set up a visitation with the provider, and they stated their availability. And from that availability and the foster parents' availability, the visits were set up.
Okay. Is there any type of ICPC in place involving Dad?
The ICPC can't be submitted until Dad completes the family therapy. The state of Georgia won't send off the ICPC until that is completed, which indicates the entire case plan is complete.
Okay, and as part of that ICPC, then someone from the department in Tennessee will go and complete an assessment on his home?
Correct.
Okay.
That's if the state of Tennessee completes ICPCs, but we won't find out until the packet is sent over to them.
Okay. You indicated in the visits, if I'm correct, there were issues with is it Deandra speaking freely and being disrespectful? Is that what you said?
Yes, the transporter told me about DeAndrea being disrespectful during some of the videos.
Okay. And when did you put in a case plan for Dad?
That was brought into the case plan with the two youngest children that came in October of 23.
And as to Mom and her case plan, there were, I know for both of them, there were specific things they were to have done. Now, as to the mother, that she was to have completed certain things, which is, or at least in participating in the progress. So when we were here in November, you indicated that Mom was completing family therapy and following those recommendations. Is that correct?
Yes, Mom was following recommendations of family therapy, attending family therapy to address the issue between her and the children when it came to her relationship with them and how she interacted with the children.
All right. And she is still participating in family therapy, correct?
Correct.
And then you indicated she was progressing or Was it your understanding that she had completed a psychiatric evaluation, but she had not provided you with a letter from or documentation that medication was not needed?
Mom was at Anchor Hospital. She went to Anchor Hospital due to some of the issues that she was having. Upon that time, while she was there, she stated to me that the psychiatrist told her that she did not need medication. However, upon requesting the documents, we never received those documents. And Ms. Stevenson later on stated that she would give those documents only to you because of the fact of the department twisting things and being against her to find a way to extend her case or terminate her rights.
Okay. So she's completed or participated in domestic violence, anger management classes, and with those, following those recommendations, correct?
She has followed those recommendations and completed those, but due to the concerns of the department, we requested that she continue anger management because of the outbursts and things that have occurred since the last court hearing in November.
And did you staff that with the provider?
I did speak with Ms. Miller about the concerns as well.
And Ms. Miller did not indicate that she needed additional anger management specific classes or therapy, correct?
Ms. Battle, can you identify which specific Ms. Miller you're talking about, given that we have Ms. Miller as a guardian in this case?
Yes, and I'll just, Ms. Jones Miller.
Ms. Jones Miller is aware and stated that she would provide more classes. Ms. Miller Jones also stated that Ms. Stevenson is who she is and that a lot of these things will not change when it comes to Ms. Stevenson because this is how she is as a person.
Okay, and so the department is asking for Ms. Jones Millers to give her, but as the therapist, she is not indicating to the department that it was needed.
She didn't say that it wasn't needed. It's just the fact that she stated Ms. Stevenson is who she is, and she doesn't know if the classes will change how she reacts and how she is as a person.
Okay, so if a counselor is aware of a certain situation and I can strike that, how does the department direct the counseling and therapeutic services for the individuals?
We don't direct, we include the necessary services that need to be worked on, and we staff and discuss those needs with the therapist. We do not tell the therapist what she will and will not.
Okay, so if the therapist says, I'm not doing that, then the department has no issue with that.
If she's stating that she will not do it, identifying and understanding that Ms. Stevenson does have an issue, even if she is the way she is, then another professional opinion would be sought out.
All right, and in Ms. Stevenson's case, have you sought out another professional?
I have not sought out another professional because Ms. Jones Miller continues to work with me.
Okay. And Ms. Carlisa is employed, correct?
Ms. Stevenson is employed. However, we are still missing pay stubs, which at this point she will have to submit to you to submit to us because she stated that she is not going to provide the department with said information unless it is in black and white.
Okay, but she's previously provided you with pay stubs, correct?
Yes, but I have not received any since December.
Since December, okay. But as far as you know, throughout the duration of this case, she has worked, correct?
When Ms. Stevenson was able-bodied and not incarcerated or
Incarcerated.
not responding to the department, because Ms. Stevenson does have her moments where she will block the department and take a break from her case plan outside of Ms. Jones. You know, she will still speak with Ms. Jones Miller, but if she is frustrated, she will take a break and either block myself or leadership until she's ready to come back to the table with a clear mind.
I don't even know if you answered the question because Dan went so far. Can you tell me, has she, and she does have a place to live, correct?
Yes, she does currently have a place to live and provide a lease for said place to live.
Have you had an opportunity to go and visit that location?
I did complete a walkthrough of Ms. Stevenson's home in December.
Is the home large enough for the children to come and live with her?
It is a 2-bedroom townhouse. Ms. Stevenson stated that she did not know if she would be getting all 3 children back, but she stated that she could request a larger unit, but if not, she would be willing to give DeAndrea her bedroom and allow Champion and DeAndre to share it.
Okay. All right. All right, and she has, at least she's been taking her drug screens and, correct.
Stevenson's last drug screen was on the 31st of January, which was a urine screen that was positive for THC. There have been 3 missed appointments for the month of November, and we do not have any screens for the month of February. They have not reported any missed appointments at this time, but aside from that, the only other screen that we have for Ms. Stevenson was 11/8, which was positive for THC as well. And prior to that, October 4th, which was positive for THC.
All right.
I'm sorry, and she also had a oral screen on 11/8 that was negative.
All right. And substance abuse is not an issue, was not an issue in this particular case, correct? And not part of the case plan.
The only issue was the THC, which Ms. Stevenson stated prior was from Delta 9 that she was using from over the counter.
Was there a time period in which you spoke with Ms. Jones Miller regarding unsupervised visitation?
Yes, there was a time where I did speak with Ms. Jones about unsupervised visitation.
And what did she advise?
She advised to give Ms. Stevenson a chance because we don't know how she is with her children, giving her the opportunity to parent. However, when we had the meeting in December and Ms. Stevenson had one of her outbursts, she did change her mind along with the therapist who had concerns as far as Ms. Stevenson's anger and how pretty much how bad it got during that meeting to the point where it had to be ended.
Now, my understanding, Ms. Jones Miller was at that meeting, and Ms. Washington was at that meeting, correct? That's the former foster family?
So it was multiple people at that meeting, all of the kids therapists plus Ms. Jones Miller and the foster parents, including the department, my supervisor as well.
Okay, who's the children's therapist? I thought Ms. Jones Miller was their therapist as well.
Ms. Jones Miller is with the parents, and Ms. Wilson is with DeAndrea, and Mr. Ari is with DeAndre.
Okay. And Mom, throughout that meeting in December, wasn't she, would you indicate that that there was just something that happened with Miss Washington that caused the outburst?
Ms. Stevenson asked her questions, and upon asking the foster parent a question, it was about her daughter's trauma and wanting the foster parent to explain her daughter's trauma. However, Ms. Stevenson was made aware prior to that on other occasions that the foster parent cannot explain the trauma that her daughter has been through in terms of being with her and moving into foster care. So she already knew not to ask that question, and the fact that the foster parent could not answer that question. We offered Ms. Stevenson the opportunity to speak directly with Ms. Wilson to discuss the traumas that have come with her entering care and what she dealt with her mom. However, Ms. Stevenson asked that question towards the foster parent, and during that time, they did exchange words to where things became very irate, where Ms. Stevenson basically gave information that she had already been by the foster parent's home, know where she lives, and that she also knows someone in the neighborhood. So if she did want to do something to her, she had someone there to complete that task as well.
Okay, so it was in response to Miss Washington, wasn't it in response to Miss Washington saying something in reference to Drea's trauma?
Yes, trauma, when it comes down to it, Ms. Stevenson got triggered by her stating that a part of DeAndrea's behavior is from her trauma. And basically that caused Ms. Stevenson to get upset, and that's where the meeting went in a bad direction. It had to be ended.
And as far as, Ms. Stevenson's outburst, and I think you indicated this in the prior hearing, is directed towards the department and not directed towards the children.
A lot of her outbursts has come towards the department. It has come towards the foster parents as well. And prior to that, it was with the father after the last court hearing in November, where the kids wanted to have a visit with their father and came to the defects office. During that same time, Ms. Stevenson came to the defects office as well, stating that she wanted to have a visit with the kids because it's not fair to her that dad got to have a visit with the children. Upon coming to the defects office.
So my question was about the outburst to the department. Can you tell me when those occur? Is it a matter of the mother expressing her frustration that the department's not doing something, or or they did something that was not, for instance, I know that we've there's been prior testimony in the prior hearing in reference to Ms. Washington taking Drea out of the state without permission, and then the department's response to that. Isn't though that would be instances in which Ms. Stevenson would have outbursts or be frustrated by the situation?
Ms. Stevenson could be upset by the situation. However, with Ms. Stevenson and Ms. Washington, it wasn't just with DeAndrea going out of state. Once the foster parent is on Ms. Stevenson's bad side, there is nothing left to come from that. And you have another foster parent who's had to deal with the same outbursts from Ms. Stevenson on this hearing as well.
Ms. Battle, anything else?
Yes, Judge. Thank you, Judge. That's all I have from Mr. Turnipseed at this
All right.
time.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Miller, Ms. Ann Miller.
No questions, Judge.
All right. Ms. Obsitnik, any redirect for your witness?
Yes, just a few questions. Mr. Turnipseed, in regards to Mr. Stevenson and the ICPC, you said that when Mr. Stevenson completes the family therapy, that's when we'll send out the packet, correct?
Correct.
When is Mr. Stevenson expected to finish the family therapy?
I haven't been given an exact date. I would have to follow up with Ms. Jones Miller on how many sessions she feels like Dad would need with the kids.
Okay. And does the department still consider the children to be dependent children?
Yes, they're still considered to be dependent.
Is a concurrent case plan in the best interest of the children?
Yes.
Is the visitation schedule appropriate in light of the children's age and needs?
Yes, the visitation schedule is appropriate. Mom does have her visits on Thursdays, and the kids have their sibling visits every other Monday.
Now, Andre is 10 years now. Is he being provided with any services to help assist him from foster care to independent living if it were to go down that road?
Yes, so DeAndre is assigned his ILS, Miss Danae Lawrence, and we are in the process of setting up his first transitional roundtable meeting. And that will introduce him to the ILS IOP program and the services that they provide.
Okay. And in regards to the children's different placements, are those placements still appropriate?
At this time, they're still appropriate. As stated before, the kids came in at different times. And during that time, DeAndre came in first, and Ms. Moya has other children at her home, and she was unable to accommodate the other two children as well. So that's why at this time they're still in separate households.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Ms. Battle, anything else?
I'm sorry, just one more question. There was a change in placement for DeAndre, Drea, and Champion. Why did that placement change?
That placement changed due to the concerns that we had when it came to the threats that Ms. Stevenson had made towards the foster parent. Also due to some of the issues that happened with the kids and their family therapy with father, and setting up some of the visits. There were excuses made on behalf of the foster parent that were untrue, and that came to the department's attention, and we made that change to move the youngest two children out of our home.
Okay, and Miss Miss Stevens had previously complained about what she felt was the foster parents' interference. Is that correct?
Ms. Stevenson did complain about what she thought was interference and some of the other issues that she had with the foster parent.
Okay, and so the notice of placement change that we received was incorrect.
Yes, and that was explained to Ms. Stevenson.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Ms. Miller?
No questions, Judge.
Okay. Mr. Turnipseed, I just wanted to ask about the notice of placement change. I don't see a notice of placement change in this file. When was the notice of placement change for the children recent change of placement filed with the court?
The corrected notice of change or the initial?
So the most recent notice of, when did the children, let me ask you another way. When did the two children that moved were DeAndre and DeAndrea?
DeAndrea and Champion.
Okay. DeAndrea and Champion.
Correct.
When did they move?
They moved on the 17th
of
January.
Okay.
The original notice that was incorrect went out on the 10th. And then the corrected notice of change came in on the 22nd.
Oh, hang on. Ms. Clark, can you come over here? It would show here, right?
Correct. And it would be one of the lower ones.
And there's nothing here. Okay. What about this file? Okay, so there's an emergency notice in this file. That's the DeAndre and Champion on January 30th, 2025. Okay, so let me just see here.
If it had been for all three, we would have split it between the two, but if it's just the two, it would have just gone in one file. Do you have what you need there? Do you have what you need?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't know why it's not in the other file, but I mean, yeah, because it's that one is just as to DeAndre apparently, and that didn't include him on this one. Okay. Then I wanted to ask you. You talked about that there was a recommendation, and I'm using that word in quotes, that the mother undergo additional anger management. Has she ever been recommended to undergo that by a treatment provider, or was that simply from the department?
Mom was recommended anger management from the actual assessments that she took. Mom continuing anger management is recommended by the department due to the outbursts that have been occurring since November. So basically, due to these outbursts and the things that Mom has been saying and doing is why the continued anger management has been requested.
But mom is currently in receiving individual therapy services, correct?
Correct.
From who?
Miss Jones Miller.
And Ms. Jones Miller is basically takes the position that those additional anger management isn't going to do anything for mom, right?
She stated that basically mom is who she is and she was not going to change.
Reading between the lines that it's not going to do her any good. Correct?
It could be seen in that light, yes.
Okay. Other than Ms. Jones Miller, has there been any other, is there a family therapist working with mom?
That's with Ms. Jones Miller.
Okay. Does mom have any other therapeutic providers other than Ms. Jones Miller?
No.
Okay. And Ms. Obsidnik had asked you about with the ICPC and the family therapy for Mr. Stevenson. You don't have any idea as to how many therapeutic sessions of family therapy still are remaining? You don't have a ballpark figure?
I don't have a ballpark figure because of the fact that when the kids were placed with the previous foster parent, their availability was not always available when it came to the family therapy sessions. So it pretty much slowed things down when it came to dad sessions as well, which also included us changing, the department changing the kids' placement as well.
So are you saying that one of the reasons that you changed the placement was that the previous placement for those children was not being cooperative in getting the children into family therapy sessions with dad?
Making the kids available, correct.
Has that kind of same issue been occurring with mom and family therapy from the previous previous placement for those children, where that placement would not make the children available for family therapy sessions with mom?
We've had some with mom, but then the actual Miss Jones Miller started the sessions to complete them in person during their visits.
All right, Ms. Obsidnik, your next witness, please, unless anybody had anything else for Mr. Turnipseed. Not hearing any, so Ms. Obsidnik, you may call your next witness.
The department would like to call Miss Henley Parks for the same.
Okay. You want to bring Ms. Parks in?
Miss Henley Parks. Is that what you said, Judge? Henley Parks.
Henley Parks, yeah. I'm going to switch my view because I'll see if she's in here or not. There she is. Ms. Parks, would you be kind enough to unmute your microphone and turn on your video, please? I don't know that I swore you, so I'm going to go ahead and swear you right now. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony and evidence you're about to give in the matter before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
I didn't hear you.
I do.
Okay, you're going to have to get closer to your microphone because you're even more faint than Ms. Miller. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Obsidnik.
Miss Henley Parks, please state your name for the record.
Denise Henley Parks.
And where do you work?
Can you hang on?
It's barely.
You're going to have to be a lot louder than that, Ms. Parks. It's just not picking up here at all.
Denise Henley Parks.
That's better.
And where do you work?
Henry County Department of Family and Children Services.
In the course of your work, are you familiar with the Stevenson children?
Yes.
And have you interacted with the Stevenson family?
Yes.
Who in the family have you interacted with?
Carlisa Stevenson.
And how have those interactions been?
not great, up and down. We had a meeting scheduled on December 11th, 2024, due to concerns that Mrs. Stevenson had for the previous foster parent of DeAndrea Stevenson and Champion Stevenson. So I scheduled a meeting for that date so that she can discuss the problems that she was having with that previous foster parent, as well as once we had the meeting, she stated that she also had problems with the department. Before the meeting, I asked Mrs. Stevenson to write down her questions so that once we had the meeting, we could stay on track. The providers that's working with Mrs. Stevenson and the family was also invited to that meeting along with my administrator and the case manager. Once the meeting was held, Mrs. Stevenson began to get off track and discuss things such as she wanted to know why the foster parent felt like DeAndrea had trauma. She kept asking the foster parent to describe this trauma to her, to tell her about this trauma. Ms. Stevenson became very irate during that meeting. She began cursing, she began yelling. She also threatened the foster parent by stating that she knew exactly where the foster parent stayed and that she had someone that lived in her neighborhood that could pull up on the foster parent. So the foster parent became upset due to the information that Mrs. Stevenson was sharing. So the therapist was on the call. No one calmed Mrs. Stevenson down. So I was able to get Mrs. Stevenson to calm down. After that, we ended the meeting. I called Mrs. Stevenson therapist, which is Mrs. Miller, and I asked her if she felt like Mrs. Miller needed medication. She stated yes. And I said, well, I agree too. I said, and you see what happened during this meeting. I said, Ms. Stevenson has been working with you for a while. And at this time, I do not feel that Mrs. Stevenson has learned how to control her anger because she goes from 0 to 100 within seconds. And I said, at this time, I do feel like she needs to be on medication. The therapist agreed. The therapist also stated, well, before that, I said, well, according to the case manager, he's saying that Ms. Stevenson reported that whoever she saw at Anchor didn't need medication. So Mrs. Miller was like, well, I would like to see that letter. I said, well, so do I. I said, but at this time, we still do not have the letter from this doctor saying that she does not need medication. So Ms. Miller stated, well, it's clear that she needs medication. I said, yes, it is. I said, also at this time, I'm not in agreement with unsupervised visits because of these angry outbursts that she continues to have. I said, Mrs. Stevenson has not learned how to control her anger. So a couple of days later, I started receiving phone calls from Mrs. Stevenson saying that I lied on the therapist, stating that I was trying to persuade the therapist that she needed medication and that she didn't need a medication. Ms. Stevenson tried to have a three-way call with myself alone with the therapist, stating that I lied and that the therapist, I guess, informed her that she didn't say those things. I refused to get on the three-way call with Mrs. Stevenson, so she contacted the case manager and asked, well, why isn't Mrs. Parks getting on the three-way call? So Mr. Turnipseed informed her, why would she get on the call with how your behavior is and how you're acting? He was like, so no, she's not going to get on the call because of the behavior you keep presenting. So Ms. Stevenson continued to text me all day, all night, saying that she knew where I live, stating that she knew my husband and that she was going to try to, I guess, seduce herself and talk to my husband. Then on February the 1st from a different number, and it was one of the numbers that Ms. Stevenson had been calling me from as well. But on February the 1st, this particular person said that she was Ms. Stevenson's sister and that she was tired of me lying on Mrs. Stevenson and messing with her nieces and nephews, and that she was going to—
I would judge, I mean, this is way beyond the scope of the question, number one. Number two, Whoever this other person is, they're not here there to testify. So whatever she said would be hearsay, and I'd ask the court to redirect the witness. Thank you.
Y'all are going to need to give me 1 minute.
Harley, are you gonna have to drive over from Fayetteville for the 11 o'clock?
Jack is on his way.
And I'm coming through Jonesboro right now. I should be there right at 11.
Well, the problem is I'm still at my office and I've got to get over to the courthouse and with this hearing.
Okay. Yeah, and it sounds like the judge is having all kinds of problems with this. It's not my place, but the judge could do it saying, hey, we need to do better. That, it's going to take all day on Zoom if we're going to reset it, but that's up to him, of course. But yeah, it's going to create a problem with you having to be there, having to come, because the way it's going right now on Zoom, it's going to take forever today.
Right, I agree.
But Harley's got it, so if however he wants to handle it, that's fine.
And I'm in the building. I'm just sitting outside the courtroom for the 11 o'clock case.
And when the judge comes back, Mary, I know Harley was getting ready to, I left right before all this happened or whatnot. Other than directing the witness, as far as that goes, this is a review, and I do believe that hearsay is allowed in the review, but I won't go there. It's not my place right now, but I think that's what Harley was getting ready to do when the judge said he needed a minute. But either way, y'all take care of this. I'm listening, but I'll be there at 11 and we can do the other case, hopefully.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. I've had a cold and I've had a cough that I can't shake for a couple of weeks. So got myself another bottle of water. Ms. Obsidnik, you can continue with Ms. Parks, I believe.
Judge, I have a quick question about the 11 o'clock case. Jack's on his way over. Jack's going to do the 11 o'clock. Mary's at the courthouse. Are we just going to keep going with this? Because I have to be able to get to the courthouse for the 11 o'clock.
Well, I don't know how much longer we're going to be going on this one, Ms. Miller, but I'll give you time to get here for that one. That'd be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Henley Parks, in regards to your communication with Miss Stevenson, can you just summarize what that communication has been like?
I can barely hear you, Harley.
In regards to the communications with Miss Stevenson and communications that are confirmed with Miss Stevenson, could you just briefly summarize what those conversations have been like?
Irate, yelling, cursing, threatening.
Okay. And is that every time you speak with her?
Yes. Majority of the time, yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I have nothing further.
Ms. Mary Evans Bartles.
Yes, when you are speaking, now, Mr. Turnipseed is the case manager, correct?
Correct.
At what point in time would you be speaking with Ms. Stevenson?
So when Ms. Stevenson is upset and she's spoken with the case manager, she will contact me. She contacts me all day, just about every day. If I don't answer, she begins to text. If we tell her that we're in a meeting or if we're doing something, she continues to call as well as continues to text. So when I do speak with her, she's very upset.
Okay. And you had indicated previously that when she got upset at the meeting, you were the person who was able to calm her down, correct?
That is correct.
And so when she's upset with the department or upset with Mr. Turnipseed, then she calls you, correct?
Correct.
And when she's screaming and yelling, she's not screaming and yelling necessarily at you, but things concerning her children and
That is
what she
incorrect.
feels.
That
That's
is
not correct?
incorrect. No, that's not correct, because if you're calling out my name, such as calling me an old bitch, that's directly towards me. That's not directly towards the agency. That's towards me.
Okay, so she did call you out of your name is what
Several
you,
times.
okay then. And the way you're speaking now is the way you speak to her then?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And do you think that you always speak to her in a professional manner?
Yes, I do. I do.
You believe that?
Do I believe that? Yes, I do.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. You believe that, correct?
Yes, I do.
All right. And has she complained about the way in which you speak to her?
Yes, to me, but I mean,
Okay.
we've had several meetings where other people was on the call, and my tone is the same as it is now.
Okay.
Mr. Turnipseed has also witnessed my conversations with Ms. Stevenson.
That's fine. I understand. All right. Thank you.
Ms. Miller.
No questions, Judge.
All right. Any redirect from Ms. Obsidnik?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Can this witness step down then?
Yes.
All right. Next witness.
The department would like to call Miss Alexis Jones Miller.
All right. You bring her in. Ms. Jones Miller, if you'll go ahead and unmute your microphone. I know you can't apparently turn on your video, so and I've already sworn you in. So, Ms. Obsidnik, you may proceed.
Miss Alexis Jones Miller, where do you work?
At New Heights Behavior Consultants.
Okay, and in the course of your work, do you see Carlissa Stevenson?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Could you give a report, a summary on how Miss Stevenson has been? Well, strike that. Do you see Miss Stevenson both individually and with family therapy?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so starting with your individual therapy sessions, could you provide the court with a report on how those have been?
So I've been seeing Miss Stevenson since I believe it was August 2022. And since then, she's been consistent up until the time when she was incarcerated. But other than that, she's been consistent.
Okay. And one second. And how has her demeanor been in your counseling sessions with her?
Pardon me, say it again. I'm sorry.
How has her demeanor been in your interactions with her been in your sessions?
So when you say her demeanor, like what, like her attitude or
Yes.
um so let me say this. When I first started with Miss Stevenson, um Miss Stevenson was, she was very upset with the department when it came to DeAndre. However, since working with her, she has calmed down a whole lot. Now, I can say that she's very respectable to me. Um, I haven't, I haven't had any any time where she was disrespectful um to me in that regards.
Okay. And in regards to anger management and the like, would you say additional anger management services would be beneficial or not beneficial, or how would you see that?
So, so again, coming from 2022, when I first met Miss Stevenson, she has calmed down an awful lot. Um, Miss Stevens, and we do work on coping skills. We continue to work on that. She has, however, I have seen her use them, utilize them, as well as benefit from them. Now, as time go on, um, she can gain more coping skills to help her along the way with other things that's going on with her.
Okay. And on the family therapy side, how have those sessions been going?
Those been going okay. Those been going okay. There are times again, um, when the kids may get abrupt and she will jump in and and she'll be a mom. She'll jump in and she'll let them know, hey, this is not what's going to go on. She also utilized the same coping skills as far as with her kids.
Okay. Have you ever spoken with Miss Stevenson about any mental health challenges and perhaps medication management?
Yes, ma'am. We spoke about that.
And how have those conversations gone?
So we well So again, so going back to 2022, I spoke to several of the of DFACs, the case managers as well as supervisors, as well as Miss Stevenson, in regards to medication. However, she's not willing to participate um, or take medication because of the way she says it makes her feel. However, we talked about doing things naturally, maybe, taking some natural approaches to medication. And however, she seems to take an approach. Um, it's not a natural approach, but she takes an approach to marijuana.
Okay. And do you discuss with Miss Stevenson her behaviors?
Again, we talk about that. That's always the first thing that we talk about, especially um when something happens, or she tends to hear something, or something about the kid, something about her case. So when that tends to happen, immediately that's something that we jump right into. It's because she will get overwhelmed. She will get overwhelmed in regards to anything pertaining to the kids, her case, things like that. So we'll have to backtrack and start all over again a little bit, and then kind of fast forward to kind of calm her down.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
All right, Miss Evans Battle.
Yes, thank you. So based on your testimony, you would consider Miss Stevenson to have progressed in both her individual and in family therapy, correct?
Yes, she has. And again, you would have had to know her back in 2022. Yes.
Okay. And have you, all of your visits, are they that you have with her and the kids for family therapy, are they scheduled visits?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever done pop-up visits with her and the kids?
Yes, I have.
All right. And between the scheduled visit and the pop-up visits, did you see any like discrepancy that or concerns?
No.
Did there ever come a time when let me ask you, when you said something about when the children that she is a mom and she talks to the kids. Would that be in reference to, are you speaking in reference to something as to whether or not they're doing something wrong, or what is that in reference to that you said that she's a mom?
So, for example, um, I can name a few times where the kids had got upset for one reason or another, and it was in regards to maybe Champion had took a piece of candy or something like that, or whatever situation may be. However, she knows how to go in, and she'll sit them down and she'll talk to them, letting them know, hey, this is wrong. I bring enough, you know, um, candy or whatever for each and every one of you guys. So you shouldn't be taking his candy, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that. So she goes in, she talks to them, and
Mhm. So she's not screaming and yelling um, at them, or she's just I guess you said being a mom. Do you know whether or not it's appropriate? I'm looking at the age of the kids. Um, Champion is the younger child. He's about 3 years of age versus the others that are teenagers. Um, would you expect that there would be a different way in which she would speak to the teenagers versus speaking to Champion?
yes,
And that would, based on their ages?
yes.
Okay. Um, and you talked to her about the self-medicating um, as an alternative to medication.
Yes, ma'am. So, again, going back, when we've had the conversation several times, and she told me that, that it makes her crazy. It makes her feel weird. And so with that being said, we had spoke about natural medicating and things like that.
Okay.
However, she did tell me, and this is when I first started with Miss Stevenson, that she smoked marijuana, which calms her down. And I believe that was something that either a doctor or someone, a doctor, I believe it was a doctor or someone that had approved her for that.
Okay.
But I never did go into the doctor approval or things like that.
Okay. Then. Right.
I was just trying to give her some alternative ways other than marijuana, and or if she didn't want to take medication.
Okay. And would you say that she has made progress in her, well, I think you did, in verbalization, correct?
Yeah, she's made a lot of progress in verbalization. However, she's still verbal. Um,
Okay.
And yeah, and she's still verbal again when she feels like she's being lied on, when she feels like she's being attacked, when she feels like, her kids are her main priority. And she's always said that. She's, so when she feels like she's being attacked, whichever way, I mean, it can even be me. When she feels like she's being attacked, then that's when she starts to raise her voice.
And did you tell Mr. Turnipseed? Let's see. Go back to what he said. That mom is mom is she is who she is. Did you um what's the I guess the better question is how um the department made a recommendation for additional anger management, correct?
Yes.
And that was through Mr. Turnipseed, who you spoke with about that?
Yes.
And what was your response to his asking for the additional anger management?
Not following.
The department was asking for additional anger management. Was that part of your recommendation?
So what I do is that I ask for the essay to be renewed. That's so that services can continue and there's no break in services. Um,
Okay.
up until either two things happen, either the case is closed or either one of the department tells me that service is no longer needed, or even me. I can what's that to say that service is no longer needed. But it's just,
Okay.
all of that, even like with the anger management, even with the parenting, all of that is just geared to help and assist Miss Stevenson, helping her to build upon her coping skills.
Okay, then. I think, I guess the question arises around, um, did you, when Mr. Um, was asking you about the additional anger, mom needing additional anger management services, did you indicate that mom is who she is, which our reading between the lines might be that um, that there was not necessarily additional needs specifically for that particular area of treatment?
Cannot recall that, Miss Battle. I can't recall that. I know that me and Mr. Turnipseed, we've had many a conversation.
Okay. Do you think that would you have, if he had not asked you for the additional services for specifically for anger management, would you have asked him for the additional time to address that issue?
Absolutely.
You would?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's
And
just, and again, that's just to help and assist Miss Stevenson with her coping skills, with her anger. That's because
okay,
she's not taking any medication. So, just building upon what we have, just building upon what we have.
okay. And can you tell me, can you give me like, would you say like a rundown or history of what you believe that she has done in with your treatment for her and through the individual and family therapy?
Say it again, Miss Battle. I'm sorry.
Can you tell me what things she has done from historically in her
Ms.
treatment?
Battle, let me interrupt you right there. Mr. Stevenson and DeAndre, y'all need to not be communicating with each other during this hearing right now. It's kind of distracting to me, and we don't need to be doing that during this hearing. So if you'll please refrain from doing that, okay? Go ahead, Ms. Battle.
Yes, sir.
I guess the better question is, I'm in court. The better question would be, okay, the
What
better
are some
question
of the,
is, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to frame this, and you and I had a conversation. I interviewed you as a part of this hearing, and you indicated that do you see the department looking from her history at what she has done versus the things that she's not doing now?
so you're asking me, do I think that the department is looking at her behavior versus the things that she's already done or have
Correct,
not done?
correct.
I believe so. I mean, okay, so again, and it's, and I think that, so she's worked on an awful lot with me. We worked on an awful lot. If I can, I mean, I can go on and on and on. I can, we worked on redirecting, um, as far as like the children, we worked on, you know, um, modeling appropriate behavior. We worked on communication. We worked on barriers. We worked on, I mean, the list goes on. We worked on boundaries and rules. We worked on when it comes to communication as far as like with the kids, um, handing out the appropriate disciplines according to their ages, different parenting styles, even up to um her using high pitch or like her voice, because Miss Stevenson has never I've never witnessed her put her hands on her kids, but I witnessed her as far as like she uses her voice as a way to calm them down or to get them, to do what she has asked them to do. So, you know, that's her voice. And
Okay,
that's her way of, um I'm trying to think of a word, like that's her way of um getting them to act accordingly, should I say.
okay.
Um the only thing that I can say as far as the things that she's done, because she's been compliant, there's not one time that she hasn't been compliant. Again, well, yes, it has, because again, I mentioned that earlier when she was incarcerated, but however, she was still compliant. She would call me, but we wouldn't have any sessions because there was, I couldn't go into the jails during that
Okay.
time.
And we were in a hearing back in November. Did you previously make a recommendation for her to have unsupervised visits with her children?
I did, yes.
Okay. And what happened as far as that you know of?
So I did make a recommendation, and again, because this is me working with this parent since 2022, I've never seen her do anything, or harm her children. And when I did make the recommendation, I spoke to the supervisor, Ms. Parks, and I guess that the department didn't feel like she was ready to have unsupervised visitation.
Okay. Do you communicate with the therapist for the children?
No, I do not.
And you're also you do family therapy with Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Okay. And how has the therapy gone with Mr. Stevenson?
So with that being said, it's now Mr. Stevenson, he's been compliant. It's just the children's foster parent. I believe DeAndrea, they couldn't get a schedule. Well, the foster mom couldn't get a schedule because DeAndrea was in so many activities at school, and so we couldn't get anything together in order to have the family therapy with dad.
Okay. And you were on the call, speaking of Miss Foster, the former Foster family. You were on the call with Miss Washington, correct? And there was a family meeting in December. A number of therapists and foster families were present, including you, correct?
Yes, at the pretty much towards the end because I had an appointment, but I got the call. It was like towards the end.
Okay, then. Was Miss Stevenson already upset at that point? At the point you got on the phone?
At the point of the call, at the point that I got on the phone, I believe the foster parent was indicating that it was a waste of her time. I mean, I can't remember everything, but it was
Okay,
so much as if like it was a waste of her time that she wanted to
okay,
get off the
all right.
call.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And is it still your recommendation that Miss Stevenson be permitted to have unsupervised visits?
Yes,
Thank you. That's all
thank
I
you.
have.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Yes.
And how do I'm Miss Miller too.
Oh,
We
okay.
both have Miss Miller. How have the children been doing in the therapy? Are they? I know the two older will be.
Can barely hear. Oh, something is going on with the mic.
How do the children do in therapy?
The children are doing okay in therapy. They still have some ways to go, but they are being compliant. We do this. I do the same thing like with them that I do with mom. A lot of times I will break away and I will do counseling and therapy with the kids to themselves, and just asking them how things going as far as with mom, how are the visits going and things like that. Because I want to get from them without them being in front of mom.
Right. And how did they do in therapy with dad?
So again, so with dad, because of DeAndrea's schedule, we hadn't had a family session in maybe a couple months or so because of the activities that the foster parent had have DeAndre in. I think it's like soccer, karate, just a number of things.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Obsitnik, do you have any redirect for this witness?
Yes, a few questions. In regard to family therapy with the father, how many sessions are left?
It should be, I'm thinking it should be about 4 or 5 left. I'm not for sure.
Okay.
But it's not that many more. However, it could have been completed, but again, with the foster mom having DeAndrea and a lot of activities.
Okay. And I believe you may have testified that you've never witnessed Mrs. Stevenson becoming irate or anything. Is that correct?
Irate with her children. No, I have not. Now, as far as being irate with me or just um expressing things that had happened as far as her um it could be something like somebody lied on her, somebody had said something. Yes.
Okay. Do you think Mrs. Stevenson has some anger management issues?
Yes.
And
That's the reason why we are continuing to work um on that main issue.
okay. And did you ever tell Mrs. Stevenson that if the courts were to give the children back to her, the children would likely end up back in the department's care due to her behaviors?
You said, did I tell her that?
Yes. Have you informed her of that before?
No.
Okay. That's all I have, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear Ms. Miller's response. Did she say that she had ever told Ms. Stevenson that if her behaviors were to continue or if the kids were to be returned home, that they would all likelihood return back into DPI custody? What was the answer to that question, Ms. Miller?
No, I said no.
You said no. Okay.
And one more follow-up. Did you ever report to the department that you informed Miss Stevenson of that?
I can't recall that. No. There was a conversation, that I had similar with mom in regards to the kids and their behavior. I can't recall that I had a conversation with the department, but however, I did have a conversation with mom in regards to in regards to the kids' behavior, and them acting up. Is this something that she's willing to deal? Is this something that she's willing to continue to deal with? Um, because it goes back and forth. Like the kids will say something, they will lie or say something, and when it when it gets back to the mom and the mom confronts it, I told mom, I said, well, if this is, if this is the behavior of the kids, you know, what do you think will happen when they get home? This it's just gonna be a repeat. when I did tell Miss Stevenson that, Miss Stevenson informed me. She told me she don't care what her kids do to her. She love her kids and she want her kids back home. So she didn't care.
Let me re-clarify a little. I'm asking if you've spoken to Mrs. Stevenson about the kids, if the kids were returned to her care, that due to Miss Stevenson's behavior, the children would end up back in the department's care.
Okay, say that again. I'm sorry. Repeat that, please.
Did you ever speak with Mrs. Stevenson about that if the courts were to return the children to her care, the children would end up back with the department because of Miss Stevenson's behavior?
No, I thought
And
that was a question that was asked before. Okay, no.
and did you ever tell anyone with the department that you had that conversation with Mrs. Stevenson?
I can't recall that. The conversation that I had was a conversation. It's still in regards to the kids' behavior. So I had the conversation with Miss Stevenson in regards to their behavior. And it's similar, telling her that if the kids, the kids being returned, you know, to her, is she afraid that with the kids being returned and then they're doing these things or they're acting up with this behavior, there's a chance they may go back into care. She told, and her response to me was she didn't care. She just wanted her children.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Battle or Ms. Miller, any other follow-ups from that redirect?
No, sir.
Just in reference to your talking to Miss Stevenson about the children's behavior, you said something about lie. Are you privy to the children having made up something in reference to the abuse in this case, and the department learning later that it was untrue?
Yes, I can. Yes. So, and I believe it was DeAndre. Um, and actually, I believe it was actually both, but it was at separate times. Um, about things being said. Also, it was Texas that was going on between mom and DeAndre, where DeAndre had clearly um said some things that wasn't true. Miss Stevenson sent them to me.
Okay. All right then. And then I'm sorry, I forgot the one question about the kid's father. Um, I don't know if you can say, would you see any issues in light of the time that the children have spent with the father versus the mother? Would there be any concerns that you can think of?
No.
Okay. Even though he's only visited with them a couple of times in the last
So
couple of
that was a
years.
conversation, and again, that was a conversation that I had with the case manager.
Okay.
In regards to, dad just visiting a couple of times. I would like to see, um, more of a consistency as far as the visit. I do
Okay.
understand that he lives out of state. So,
All right then. And you understand that he hadn't seen the kids in several years before this case started,
yes.
and he's only seen them in the last 6 months, even though
Okay.
this case started in 2022.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
All right. Anybody else? Ms. Miller, Ms. Obsitnik? Can this witness be excused? Ms. Obsitnik?
Yes.
Any objections? Ms. Miller, Ms. Battle, Mr. Stevenson, for this witness being excused?
No,
No,
sir.
Judge. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Your next witness, Ms. Obsitnik?
The department would like to call Miss Andrea Wilson.
Okay.
And Judge, just for your information, this is Jack Overman. There are a whole bunch of people out here on the 11 o'clock. Should I tell them just to hang tight, or what's your plan on the rest of this?
When I get done with this, I'm going to do that.
Okay,
So tell them to hang tight.
I'll do it.
I don't see her back in anywhere.
You should.
There she is. Okay. All right, Ms. Wilson, if you'll unmute your microphone and turn on your video, please. All right, I believe I already had sworn you in, so Ms. Obsitnik, you may proceed.
Hi, Miss Wilson, please state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Andrea Wilson.
And where do you work?
I work with Loving Helping Hands.
And in the course of your work, are you familiar with a DeAndrea Stevenson?
Yes, I am.
And you are her therapist, correct?
Correct.
Can you provide the court with a brief synopsis of how things have been going with DeAndrea?
Yes, so currently her sessions are going pretty good. She is very communicative in her sessions. I do talk with her about challenges she's having at home and at school. And I do use interventions, including cognitive behavioral therapy and psychodynamic therapy to help her with emotional regulation. I work with her on navigating and how to work on resolving issues that she deals with at home and at school.
And how long have you been seeing DeAndrea?
I have been seeing DeAndrea for over a year now.
And how has her behaviors and demeanor and everything changed throughout this year?
So her behaviors, they change depending on the situation that's going on. I noticed the most change in her behavior if she gets in trouble for doing something wrong. I've also noticed changes in her behavior after her placement changed. And that's due to the dynamic in the home being different. Yeah.
And when you say, can you talk a little bit more about how her behavior has changed? Like with this placement, how has that affected her behavior?
I've noticed that during the sessions, her affect, and then her behavior is different in every session. So I've noticed week before last, her affect would be a little more angry and irritable. And it was due to issues in the home and at school. But last week when I met with her, she was a lot more happy and upbeat.
Okay, would you say some of the behaviors like 2 weeks ago was part of the adjustment to a new placement?
Um, yes, I would say that's part of why.
Okay.
Mhm.
And you said just part of why. Why else do you see these behavioral changes?
Because I'm aware that she's having issues with bullying at school also that's been causing changes in her mood.
Okay. Do you guys speak about or start that? You, in your opinion, is DeAndrea's behavior consistent with a child of her age?
E- yes.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Evans Battle.
Hello, Miss Wilson. When you indicated that she has behavior issues for, getting in trouble at school or something, is what does the behavior look like?
So mainly what her behavior it looks like is based on what's reported to me by her foster mom. She tends to be defiant, and this is based on what I received from her foster mom. She tends to be defiant, um she would communicate very aggressively with her. She often shows to not take accountability for a lot of things she does, and they have been having issues with her taking things that don't belong to her. And the foster mom has reported to me that they have issues with her not keeping her room clean. And as far as her room not being clean, I am aware that at her new home she does share the room with her brother. And the foster mom has said that she told them her brother would mess up the room at times, which in my opinion, I think is likely that that's what's going on, considering her brother's 4 years old. And kids his age do get into things, so likely a lot of times when the room is not clean, um, I don't think it's always DeAndrea. Sometimes it likely is her brother that messes up the room.
Okay, and when you said that she is something about bullying at school, is she the person bullying, getting in trouble for bullying other people, or is she being bullied at school?
She's the one being bullied.
Okay. Do you know what that is about?
Um, so when she told me about the bullying at school and she gave me permission to tell her foster mom, she mentioned the kids bully her about the way she looks and the way she does things, and she stated kids would tell her things like you would never get a boyfriend, just, making mean comments about her appearance mainly.
Okay. Did she talk to you about a relationship with her mom and dad?
Yes, she stated her relationship with her dad is very good and she does have a good relationship with her mom. But there are some conflicts in her relationship with her mom that she has talked to me about, but she told me she does have a good relationship with her and she feels safe with her. And my last session with DeAndrea was Friday morning, and she was very excited about the visit that she had with her mom. And she told me about the Valentine's Day gifts that her mother gave her. And she was, very happy and excited and in good spirit about her last visit with her mother.
And did she talk with you about her mom doing her hair at the visit?
Yes, she did mention her mom did her hair.
Okay. And that made her feel good about herself, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Do you see any issues with mother having unsupervised visits with the children with Deandra?
So as far as an opinion with DeAndrea having unsupervised visits with her mom, unfortunately, my company prohibits me from giving opinions regarding unsupervised visits with between children and their parents. So I don't have any opinions regarding DeAndrea having unsupervised visits with her mother.
Well, did you have any concerns?
No.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Miller.
The family therapist said that DeAndrea has so many extracurricular activities that she hasn't been able to do the therapy with her father. Do you know anything about that? How many extracurricular activities that she's in and how much conflict that's having with her to be able to do family therapy with the father?
So I'm not aware of how much it affects her therapy sessions with her father, but I am aware that she is in extracurricular before she was placed with Mrs. Griffin and Mr. and Mrs. Griffin. She was in wrestling. And then in a previous session she did mention wanting to do track. But I don't have any knowledge on how it conflicts with her sessions with her father.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Judge.
All right. Mr. Stevenson, I apologize. I just had forgotten that you were representing yourself. Do you have any questions for Ms. Wilson?
You talking to me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I have no questions.
Okay. All right. Ms. Obsitnik, anything else on a redirect for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Can this witness be excused?
Yes.
All right. All right. Ms. Wilson, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Ms. Obsitnik, we've been going for about 2 hours now. So how many more witnesses do you have?
Just one more.
Ms.
Ari.
Miller, Ms. Battle, how many witnesses do you have?
Well, I would like to hear from Ms. Maritza. I don't know if that's the same witness that Harley is speaking of.
No, it is not.
All right. And then who else, Ms. Battle?
And then I would just reserve on whether or not my client.
Okay. And I'm sure Mr. Stevenson wants to be heard. So that would be at least 3 witnesses that we've still got to go. So, and I've got another hearing set for 11 o'clock. We're already half an hour past that hearing. So, and then I've got a 1 o'clock delinquency calendar today. So my question is we can either reset this matter for later this afternoon, or we can reset it for another date this week, maybe on Thursday.
No, you have a Superior Court transfer. We could do it tomorrow, I believe, if tomorrow.
In the morning.
But you shouldn't have anything.
No, I don't.
You do have a calendar tomorrow after new.
Right.
At 1.
If we did it at 9, we should be done by 1, I would think. Mr. Stevenson, Ms. Stevenson, and council, if we reset this matter for tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, are there any of you that cannot be present via Zoom for that hearing?
Judge, I have Judge Palmer at 9, but if nobody objects, I'll have Ms. Schrock sit in.
Ms. Upsitnik,
I can be present and I have no objection to Ms. Schrock sitting in.
all right. Mr. Stevenson, can you be here tomorrow at on the Zoom hearing at 9 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Stevenson. Mom?
Yes.
Okay. You can be here at 9 o'clock tomorrow? All right. So what we'll do is we're going to reset this matter for tomorrow at 9 o'clock in order for us to finish this up so that I can get in all the other hearings that I've got for this afternoon. I apologize. We got a late start today because of the technical issues that we had, but still we wouldn't have been able to finish it, I don't think, even then. So just I will see you all tomorrow. We will Mr. Stevenson, Ms. Stevenson, do we have your email addresses?
Yes.
Ms. Stevenson?
Yes.
Okay. So we will send those to you directly and to your attorneys of record if you have one. And otherwise, we will see you all here tomorrow at 9 o'clock, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes,
Judge,
ma'am.
can someone let the witnesses know that they need to reappear at 9 o'clock? I don't know if she can broadcast that to them.
Do you want to, let's bring out whatever witnesses we've still got in.
And the children can be excused tomorrow. They don't need to be back on.
All right, we're going to bring the other witnesses in that Ms. Obsidnik still have. You got them in there? I don't see them.
It's just the one.
All right, let's see here. Mr. Christian, I believe you are the last witness that we had in the waiting room. We are not going to have time to finish this hearing this morning. I've got another hearing that was supposed to start 35 minutes ago. And then I've got a 1 o'clock delinquency calendar. So that's just not physically going to be possible for me to finish this today. We're going to reset this matter for tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock by Zoom. Ms. Obsidnik, is he your last witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So you'll be first out of the gate tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And then once that's done, then you'll be free to go. But are you available tomorrow at 9?
I guess I'm going to have to be.
All right. All right. You can talk to Ms. Obsidnik about that, but she will send you the Zoom link. All right.
And Ms. Carvajal, did she leave?
I don't see her in the waiting room. Was that Ms. Maritza?
Yes.
Everybody that I had.
I can reach out and make sure she is here tomorrow.
Yeah, we're not showing her in the waiting room. So
okay, great. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you all tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Then thank you very much. This meeting is concluded.
See y'all later.
Bye, Champy.
Bye.
Tomorrow. Bye.